Love and light, brothers and sisters. So I want to talk about discernment, honesty, truth, freedom, and the general state of the starseed, light worker, ascension, awakening movement, okay? Because it's kind of one big thing with all these mixed ideas and viewpoints in it, okay? And I've already been speaking about some of the things that concern me. I want to outline some of the really big ones, okay? Because I see a kind of de-evolution happening in the movement right now, in the whole awakening collective. Now, I know for myself, this is a celestial story. So it's kind of going to happen regardless. So in that way, I know, blessed be, I can trust things are meant to happen as they're meant to happen, okay? But I'm seeing a lot of unnecessary suffering and confusion being created within the collective right now. And it's really the crux of it, I feel, is if you followed my story, you'll understand that when I woke up in a very dramatic way, and I woke up to, within a couple months, successively awakening over and over and over, I woke up to the core of my being, to my I am presence, to my indestructible nature, to the truth. This is not the same thing as becoming aware of your soul, of receiving guidance from your soul, of receiving communications with spirits. This is a different level of awakening. Some people jump all the way up and then come back down. And that's what I did. I kept jumping all the way up, actually, and coming down. And I would learn on the way down about stuff. Some people slowly rise. Seems to be the more common way. Partly is because I use psychedelics and extreme meditative practices to get to these places, because I hated my ego. So there was nothing to stay down here for me. I wanted to burn it. You know, I didn't have a life to integrate spirituality into that I truly wanted and loved. I didn't have a me to integrate spiritual ideas into. It's different if you have a more balanced ego, but when you come to it through severe trauma, well, also my past situations had taught me that if you really want freedom, you're going to have to go all the way for it. Because otherwise, if you reserve anything, it will be used against you. It will become your imprisoning restraint. So, what I'm trying to say is, within the collective, we have a lot of people who are getting genuine communications. Blessed be. That doesn't mean that they're not getting disingenuous ones. Just because you are a channel does not mean that you can't be deceived, distorted, and confused. That would only be the case if your resonance and vibration was 100% stable beyond unconditional love. And I am not seeing this in the awakening collective, unfortunately. I am seeing a lot of mental awakenings. I am seeing very little genuine heart awakenings. They're there. They're amazing. They're beautiful, more than ever. Thank God. But there's a lot of people who are just having mental awakenings. Lots and lots and lots and lots. And there are many levels to that. You can awaken to the lies of your government, but not awaken to your own lies. That's quite dangerous. Then you just have people running around pointing fingers at everyone. It's all enemies everywhere. They just become paranoid. A large part of our collective is descending into paranoia. That's not great. If you don't awaken to the inherent unity of all things, if you don't feel the law of one, if you have not touched intelligent infinity. If you've not at least touched it, then you don't know what you're talking about. You're just spreading confusion. There's a lot of people here on YouTube that are just spreading confusion. I'm sorry. Not that I've never spread confusion. Not that I've never been wrong. Not that I've never been deceived. I have. I recognize that. That's why I'm not pretending to be anything more than I am. That's why, if you listen to my videos, I continually correct myself when I try to explain the limitations, you know? Like, yeah, I can sometimes channel, sort of. Not in the way most people do, though. For me, I go up and I get big picture ideas and I feel big energies, and then I come down and I integrate it into my understanding. I can touch other levels of my own awareness. I can touch my higher self, and it communicates with me in its way, through various ways. But my vibration has not been 100% stable for me to trust everything that's coming through. I have had plenty of distortions coming in here, so I have to constantly check my own ideas and information. I've picked up a lot of informations out here in the collective and accepted them as true, which I now realize was a mistake. You know, certain things resonate for me, and that was meant to give me a certain understanding and perspective and feeling about things, you know. But some of that was also confusion. Some of that was taking on too much, and that brings me to the larger idea of what I'm trying to say, that when we start to come to harmony, when we start to come to synchronicity as light workers, because it's happening, the awakening is happening, the ascension's happening, it's all real, but that doesn't mean we're not creating a bunch of crap ideas around it and confusions within it, because we are. We're fighting about a bunch of nonsense that isn't real. It's like we're all hypnotized and brainwashed. The point of this all is unity. The point of this all is love. You have to find that in yourself first. If you don't feel love, if you don't feel joy, you shouldn't be talking. You're creating karma for yourself and others. I'm speaking out of concern, brothers and sisters. I mean it. You'll be creating your own karma. Success on YouTube is not proof of validity. It's not proof of that your spiritual understanding is valid. It is not. In fact, it is quite evidently the opposite. There are many, many successful people on YouTube who don't know what they're talking about. You know, they're pretty damn confused. And they're confusing a lot of other people, and some of them seem to be deliberately confusing people. And they're really successful. That gives you huge success in the matrix. Of course it does. Success on these channels means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. And anyone watching a YouTube channel, don't listen to what they say just because they have a lot of subscribers. It doesn't mean anything. There's a video on YouTube that's 10 hours of someone just saying Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba. I swear, just Google it or put it in YouTube. And that's got like 5 million views or something. Come on. Success in media is no evidence of one's spiritual understanding, of one's love, of one speaking the truth, speaking their truth, speaking from authenticity. If anyone you are listening to does not make you feel empowered, if they make you believe that they're better than you, stop listening to them. You don't need anyone like that. We are all brothers and sisters. We are all one. We are all one. Again, the law of one is the only real law. The law of one is the only real law. To highlight, though, to go back to what I was just talking about us accepting everything, and because when you start to come again to harmony and synchronicity, when you start to notice these very real synchronicities, that can lend one to start to believe that everything is synchronistic. This is certainly not true. This is certainly not true unless you are 100% in the fifth dimension in full unity. Okay. Well, so I'm trying to say that, like, as long as there are negative elements in your life, in your mental body, in your emotional body, in your physical body, this allows those of negative frequencies to mess with you, to distort some. You already are carrying these distortions in your perceptual understanding. Nothing wrong with that, as long as we recognize it's there and go through a process of every day rooting out those things, identifying those things. If we think we're already completely liberated, anyone who says these things can physically, like, if this is true, then physically teleport. Show me. These people say they can do these things. I'm not telling anyone I can physically teleport because I haven't done it yet. If I had, I would tell you, and I would then show people that I could do it. You know? That's one of the last ascended master abilities we get. Because that's when you leave. Once you can do that, you may stay for service, you know, but mainly you're going to leave then. You're going to go on your journey to the next place. That's how we leave. That's how we ascend. But as far as people claiming these things on YouTube, claiming to be these things, for instance, let's look at light language. Going like this, that's not light language. It's not. I'm sorry. That is hugely popular too. I understand what they're trying to do, and it's beautiful, because the theory of it, the intent of it, is to say, I'm communicating with you empathically, telepathically, right? I'm communicating an idea, I'm communicating a feeling, and I'm also putting a sound to it. That's a packet of information, okay? In the past, our soul families spoke this way, yes. But these were people practicing their whole lives, you know, who lived in that way in those cultures. That's like assuming that you had heard Chinese once and thinking you can speak Chinese and just going ping pong tong tong ping tong tong, and a bunch of people standing around doing that to each other, all pretending that they understand each other. Now, I know many of you are not trying to pretend consciously that you understand each other, but in fact you are when you conversate ideas back and forth and then interject those sounds and then agree with each other. That's just creating blindness. You're creating your own blindness. So many of my brothers and sisters are doing this now. I know what real light language is. I've seen it. It's light. Guess what? It's light. It's light. You communicate actual light. It's a light language. Yes, but our ancestor did do that. They would use telepathic signals, and sometimes to add more emphasis or energy or a complexity of ideas intermixed with that, they would add a vocal characteristic. But that's for someone already telepathically fluent. If you think you're telepathically fluent, you're seriously deluding yourself, or you're 1 in a billion. I mean, almost everyone out there who's speaking light language only has a little, they're just dipping their toes in telepathy. That's the truth. That's my truth, and most of these people aren't that much more advanced than me, if they're more advanced than me, and many of them are not even experiencing the physical and the levels that I am. I'm not trying to brag. I can see that they're not hitting the vibrations I am. They're not experiencing the power I am, the freedom, the absolute utter freedom, the absolute utter joy and bliss, and because they're so caught up in all these stories and all these dark things, and for themselves personally, their freedom is tied to this dark collective and all these things that could happen. You haven't found your true freedom if you believe that. We are sovereign beings, each of us. Our God presence is sovereign and is in full control of our destiny. All we have to do is align with it. Again, we stay out of service. We stay out of service. I could quite easily withdraw from the world, go into samadhi, and not return. My higher self doesn't want me to. I don't want to either. Not yet. So it's not about someone being better than another. We all have these abilities, yes. But you're never going to get them if you're pretending to have them in full power. It's quite fine to say I'm receiving telepathic signals, I'm receiving telepathic messages. But you know, when they made the Law of One, because when I first woke, like when I started hearing Law of One and Bashar, and I was already awake, I was already on my own spiritual path, you know, it was so resonant and it clicked. But first of all, anyone who doesn't understand Bashar and thinks they're just like all these other channels, you really need to look into Bashar. You really need to. And you need to do independent outside research and personal research. You need to meditate and contact the entity of Bashar. And then tell me what you think. Because Bashar is not like the majority of these people that are claiming to channel. Not even close. Okay, they are not operating in the gamma frequency like he is. I operate in that frequency sometimes. I understand what he's doing, what he's feeling, the power that's running through him. And he's doing it in a way that I've not done before. I don't think I'm meant to, actually. I have a different way of doing it. I'm trying to integrate it into my complete physical being. He was operating from a different time and had a different purpose. So he would step all the way out of his body with his prior agreement and allow this huge, massive consciousness to come in. This apparently feminine consciousness, from what other sources and my own feelings have said. Anyways, we all are capable of speaking light language, of remembering this, but you're never going to get it if you're pretending to have it. Like, and I've made this mistake myself, if the first little channeling impressions you get, you pretend to be some kind of channeling guru or something, you'll cut yourself off. Or you won't, and that's worse, because you'll open yourself up. What in the beginning, if you started your channeling career and you felt this incredible grace and beauty and love, and you don't feel that anymore, if things feel different now, if you feel confusion and distorted, it's probably because you're not channeling the same beings anymore. Because if your vibration is going up and down, guess what? Your channeling contact cannot be trusted. And you should be very careful what you speak out here to others, because every person that you affect karmically, you're tied to them. Why do you think I'm so careful to try to show every side of everything and to tell everyone they need to use their own discernment, their own higher self? You cannot listen to other people. You're not, as much sense as I may make, you're not going to be hearing me clearly without your own higher self's guidance. Only your higher self can truly interpret what I'm saying to you. You need to feel what I'm talking about. Without a heart awakening, this is all a bunch of confusion. And that's what we've got. A bunch of confusion. A bunch of people pretending to be this and that and this and that and that. Okay? The Christ is the collective. The awakening collective. That's all of us together. None of us are the walking avatar. And if you are, well, God bless, but just we won't have to guess about that, okay? Some YouTube person, and you're looking and you're like, I wonder if they can really do all this stuff they say. Like, I say these things pretty openly about what I say because the people that actually know me around here have experienced these things. But that doesn't mean I'm anything special. I'm not anything special. I'm not. I am listening. I'm listening. I'm feeling what's happening. And I'm doing my best to understand it and share those experiences with you, hoping that I may in any way help any of you on your path. because that helps all of us. That's what I'm trying to do here. If what you're saying is, if the intent of what you're doing really is to make money or in any way gratify your ego, not that I don't want to make money, because I don't have any. And apparently I still need some. But that is not the intent of this. That is not the intent of this. I've confused some of that into it, and I'm still confused a little bit because I don't know exactly, but God is providing for me, and I have to allow that. But in order for me to really help you, I have to keep this intention pure. We have to keep our intentions pure. We cannot allow ourselves to be deceived. You cannot get to freedom with any deceptions. If you allow any deceptions to cloud your judgment, you will be led off course. You cannot compromise your integrity. Love you all. I started to say this before, but I didn't finish it, about the law of one. I've talked about this some before, why I don't listen to modern channelers of Ra. And it's quite specifically because in the law of one, in the communications from LL research, especially I think it was in the fourth book, and some of the unpublished stuff, plus there's they have a lot of other books where they talk about their personal experiences with Carla Rupert, right, and Don Elkins, and they're very informative. And first of all, the LL research, when they channeled with a group of people, and if you'll recall how specific they were about the details, about having all those details perfect every time, and Ra would continuously caution them, to keep these details in perfect alignment, because there was a negative side that was continuously trying to distort the messages and to add other messages or to disrupt them in any way they could. So to prevent this, to keep the communications pure and clear, all these precautions were made. In addition, to check their own validity, they taught several people to channel, and they would pass the channeling on from one to the other, and you could see the inflection and knowledge and understanding of the same being channeled through these several different people. And when it wasn't, and this happened, and they talk about this in their other books, there were times where the channeling became suspect, where one person started to sound different than the others. Thus, they had a means to check their own validity, their own alignment, to make sure that they were receiving clear communications from Ra, in fact. But today we have channelers that are just like, here's Ra, got him. And we're just supposed to check that they're doing everything perfect to receive a valid communication that is then going on to affect hundreds of thousands of people, which are choosing to accept these as gospel truth. Fine if you want to listen to them. Fine if you want to listen to them and use your discernment and feel into the ideas very cautiously. But when you're accepting them as direct communications from the Galactic Federations through a human channel and thinking that this person has no distortions, well, they should be able to back up that they have no distortions. They should live a life of such purity, they should resonate such light and love that it should nearly be hard and impossible to film them. Because that's what happens when I raise my vibration up much higher than this. I can't record it. I kind of have to stay right here, which isn't very comfortable. But this is for my own soul growth too. I've learned so much. I have my own path. We all have our own path. But, that's why I listen to LO Research, because I know they took the time and they put in the effort to make sure that they were not misleading people. And even what I got from Ra, I don't accept as gospel truth. The details, because details don't matter. They don't. They're just perspective. Every being in the universe has its own perspective. Guess what? Including the Dracos and all those other beings. They all have their own perspective, but they're all part of what? One. One truth, one intelligence, one power, one love. If you want to touch real power, if you want to know real freedom, align yourself with that intelligence. Forget what everyone's saying. Align yourself with that intelligence. Don't let success keep you from freedom, brothers and sisters. I seriously worry about some of my brothers and sisters who are making these YouTube videos. I worry about them not seeing their own blindness and assuming that because their channels are growing and that they have money suddenly, that everything's perfect in their understanding, and not doing the true inner work of shining a light inside and questioning, is this right? Constantly, is this right? Is this in alignment? Do I need this? Why is there conflict in my life? Sometimes we can put it off our own life and project it onto others for a time, but that only pushes it off, and we should have already learned these lessons, I hope, by now. Love and light to all.